It won the Dakar Rally twice, beat the Discovery in the Camel Trophy, and is one of the first vehicles to cross the world's most isolated, formidable jungle crossing, the Darien Gap. This V8 permanent four-wheel drive beast of a wagon is the Range Rover Classic.
I was born to raise hell. It's a family tradition. Yeah, we don't break. Raise hell and pass it down.
By the late 60s, the world was changing. A new recreational off-road market was beginning to emerge, especially in North America. Vehicles like the International Scout, Ford Bronco, and Jeep Wagoneer proved there was a growing audience for 4x4s that didn't just work in the fields, but could also haul the family around in comfort. Up until then, Land Rover's bread and butter had been the series vehicles, these agricultural workhorses, beloved by farmers, explorers, and the military. But Land Rover realised if they didn't adapt, they risked being left behind. They even went so far as to import a Ford Bronco to study how it was built. What they discovered was clear. Customers wanted a car that could tow, travel long distances, carry the family, and still dominate off-road. The results were revealed in June 1970. The Range Rover, marketed as a car for all reasons. It was fast, with 100-mile-an-hour top speed, practical with a 3.5-ton towing capacity, disc brakes all round, and seating for 5. It was something entirely new, gone with the leaf springs, drum brakes, and unrefined design. In this video, we're going to discover what made the Range Rover such a popular success, loved by off-roaders and families, making it a timeless 4x4. One of Range Rover's biggest strengths lay under the bonnet. Rover had purchased the license for the Buick 215 petrol V8 from General Motors. Lightweight and powerful, it was perfect for the job. This Rover V8 went on to become a British motoring icon, powering not just Land Rovers, but also cars from TVR, Triumph, and Morgan. But it all started here with the Range Rover. At launch, the Range Rover used a 3.5-litre V8, producing a sweet 130 brake horsepower, jumping up to 165 horses when electronic fuel injection was introduced in '86. Over time, the engine evolved, growing to 3.9 litres in '89, producing a pony power of 185. During the early '80s, Land Rover had been working on converting the 3.5-litre V8 into a diesel engine, Project Iceberg. However, this was scrapped in '84. After years of cracked blocks, piston failures, and funding had all but dried out. But out of the ashes of this failure came a massive 4.2-litre V8, introduced 8 years later using the stronger crankshaft developed in this project, giving the Range Rover 200 horses under the bonnet, with a torque output of 251 pounds per feet. In '86, Land Rover finally introduced a diesel Range Rover, powered by an Italian-built 2.4-litre VM Motori turbo diesel. It wasn't exactly a hit in the UK. Critics claimed it lacked refinement and was underpowered compared to the V8. To prove them wrong, Land Rover took to the racetrack, running the diesel Range Rover at over 100 miles an hour for 24 hours straight, smashing records in the process. In '89, the engine was increased to a 2.5-litre, but the real breakthrough came in '92, when the launch of Land Rover's own 200 TDI engine, adding a sweet 26 horses of power to a total of 111 brake horsepower. And then in '94 with a 300 TDI, refining what the 200 had already started. With all this power, Land Rover needed to improve how they transferred it to the road. Previous Land Rovers had switchable four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive most of the time, and engaged the front axles only when necessary. But Charles Spencer King, the man behind Range Rover, had a different vision. With a powerful V8 under the bonnet, King wanted to combine the comfort and on-road ability of a Rover saloon with the off-road ability of a Land Rover. introducing permanent four-wheel drive. The system worked brilliantly. The Range Rover delivered stability and unstoppable traction. They had succeeded in their goal of making a vehicle equally capable off-road as it was on-road, arguably better in both than most 4x4s at the time. The final part of Range Rover's unorthodox design was the suspension. Till this point, Land Rover had always used leaf springs. Simple, tough, and cheap. But leaves were designed for large payloads. They had limited axle travel and a harsh ride when running unladen. The Range Rover team knew they couldn't build a 4x4 for the masses on leaf springs, so they took the bold step of fitting coil springs. At this time, it was radical. Coils were considered too fragile for serious off-road use, but the gamble paid off. Off-road, the coils had far greater articulation, keeping the wheels planted on uneven ground, improving traction dramatically. On-road, the ride was smooth, controlled, and quiet. It convinced buyers that Range Rover wasn't just another rough and ready utility vehicle. It was a genuine family car that could go anywhere. Of course, with the new Range Rover being the biggest outlier in the Land Rover's lineage, it had to make a name for itself and prove its capability. Its opportunity came with the British Trans-America's expedition. The Range Rover became one of the first vehicles to cross the infamous Darien Gap. This whale-sized horde of swamps, mountains, and jungles is a literal void between Central America and South America. Then, in '77, London-Sydney Marathon, a rally covering 19,000 miles through Europe, Asia, and Australia. It won the 4x4 class. In '79, a Range Rover won the Paris-Dakar Rally, repeating this feat in '81. And in '82, the Range Rover claimed victory in a grueling camel trophy in Papua New Guinea, cementing its reputation as one of the most capable adventure vehicles on the planet. It's an absolute legend of a rig, and one I'd love to have one day. It would be great to hear some of your experiences. Let me know in the comments what 4Bs you'd like me to cover in future videos. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos.